Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the LOCUS Golden Hour podcast. My name is Kristina.
And I'm Lina.
So, this podcast is about sharing stories, advice, tips, and all things surrounding university and student life. Today, we have a special alumni guest to chat with us about 5 things to do before you graduate. Renata, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Renata. I am graduated now, but I was very involved with LOCUS during my 4 years at Laurier.
Awesome.
Thanks, Renata. We're so happy to have you back here today. And, just to kind of start us off, we'd love to hear, what have you been up to since you graduated?
Well, it was kind of wild because obviously graduating during the pandemic, I had nothing to do. So I did a lot of things around the house and I cleaned out my garage and organized our storage and just everything. And then I was also applying to 20 jobs every day because I just I had nothing else to do. So I was gotta find a job. But I'm now employed, which is very exciting. But yeah, that's what I've been up to.
That's amazing. Congratulations. What are you doing right now as your job?
So I'm a project coordinator for Pollinate Networks, and we do mentorship programs and assessments and stuff for companies. But it's actually kind of awesome because my experience with LOCUS got me the job because I had project coordination experience through LOCUS. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. That's so when I think of Renata, I'm like project coordinator. She's very organized, and I'm really glad to hear that you're doing that now.
Yeah, it's kind of how I found what I wanted to do is I really liked doing it with LOCUS, and I was like, oh, look, a job.
Oh, I get paid with what I like to do.
Yes.
Also, I just noticed you're wearing your Lynx Pack crew neck.
Of course.
I love it.
We love
it. I should have worn mine too. Okay, so we have this thing called Bursts of Firsts, where it's a bunch of rapid fire questions, like first time you did this, first time you got this, just to get to know you a little bit. So, like I said, rapid fire questions, me and Lina will go back and forth and just first thing that comes to your head. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. First one is, what was your first job?
I actually worked for my neighbor and I mowed her lawn and planted flowers and took care of her pool and stuff.
Nice.
That's sweet. Yeah. Next we have, what was your first cell phone?
Oh my gosh, it was a BlackBerry.
Me too.
Forever ago.
What was your first major purchase?
Ooh. You know what? Maybe my flute. Because that was kind of expensive. I got it right before university. I guess that'd be my first big one.
Mm-hmm. Those are expensive. Our next one, if you have ever, what was your first time you got in trouble at school?
I don't know. I'm a goody two shoes. So I honestly I can't think of one.
That's honestly good. All right, this one's a kind of a funny one. What was your first internet screen name?
Oh my gosh, it still is, but Renata Monkey Moo. And there's this story, if I could tell it.
Yeah. Yes.
So I swear it was when I was signing up to be on an online Caillou platform, I swear. And my dad didn't want me to use my real last name. So he came up with the nickname Monkey Moo, and that was my last name. And it's been every Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, everything I've had has always been Renata Monkey Moo.
I love that.
Yeah.
Iconic. Absolutely iconic. Our next one is, what was your first pet?
Just fish. I've never really had that many pets, just fish.
What was your first broken bone, if you ever had one?
I've never broken a bone.
Nice. Ooh. Also good.
This one is interesting for you. What was your first instrument you learned how to play?
Violin.
Wow. Yeah. That's a really interesting first instrument. Usually it's piano or something.
Yeah, it was violin.
That's so cool. Speaking of music, what was the first concert or show you ever went to?
Okay, I've never been to a pop concert, which I really want to go to one, but it got canceled because of COVID. I'm sad. But I've been to a bajillion and one symphony concerts, and there's probably like kinder music and stuff that I went to when I couldn't tell you what the first one was.
Love to hear it. Next one we have is your first choice in a karaoke book.
Ooh, anything with a key change, obviously.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, maybe like Living on a Prayer. I feel like that's always what I fall back to.
That's a good
one.
one.
Good one. Yeah.
What was the first Locus event you went to or planned, like from what you can remember?
Oh, I don't remember. Oh, I think planning, it was oh my gosh, I remember this because when I was HCA, we planned an event that was so similar and it had the same name, but I didn't even like tell anyone. So it was like a board game night in September. When I was on House Council, we called it Snacks and Ladders. And then when I was the HCA, that was our first event. And I swear, I didn't tell anybody that was the name, but they chose the name Snacks and Ladders. And I was like, get out of town. Deja vu.
I actually remember planning that.
It was wild. It was
year.
so fun. Yeah.
That was fun. The next thing we have is, what was your first Laurier class? So the first day of school, what was that class? If you remember.
Like maybe music in its context. I want to say it was that. Maybe. I have no idea.
Do you remember your first Laurier memory?
Oh, I definitely do. So I remember coming to Head Start, and obviously like all the students there are like, hey, how's it going? Like chatting with you. And this one guy was like, oh, are you gonna live in residence? And I was like, no, because I live in Kitchener. And he was like, oh, have you heard of LOCUS? And I was like, what? And so he told me about what LOCUS was, and then about an information session. So my dad and I went, and like before we went to the information session, we were already sold, like because he told us about how amazing LOCUS is. And then I saw Jess present that information session about LOCUS, and I was like, that's what I want to join. And then look at that, 4 years.
That's
oh my
so
goodness.
Nice.
I love how your first Laurier memory was kind of related to LOCUS as well.
Yep,
we love
definitely.
that. Okay, so our next question is, who was your first Laurier friend that you can remember?
Oh, I think it must be like people in my LOCUS group. Some of them I still talk to because I guess like it was before school started, so obviously we all met first, and now everyone's graduating, so I'm like, hey, congrats. But yeah, probably like my LOCUS group, LOCUS 9.
Nice. I like that you remember that too. That it was Community 9.
Yep.
All right. Our last question is, what was the first time you felt like you belonged at Laurier?
That's a really good question. I don't know. Just kind of, I don't know if I could like pinpoint it, but it's just like such a welcoming community that is just like, you feel like you're home. That's all I got.
That's sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah. That is so awesome. Thanks, Renate. Those are all of our bursts of first. We hope, our listeners enjoyed that. We hope you enjoyed that. I think I had a really fun time kind of learning a bit more about you. But our main chunk of this podcast episode is to learn about 5 things you need to do before you graduate. So, open-ended question, Renate. What are 5 things that you need to do?
Okay. It was kind of tough to come up with the 5 things, and I feel like some of them overlap, but I mean, these are my pieces of advice. There's obviously like a million pieces of advice floating around. But the first one would be definitely visit your academic advisor. Like make sure you're on track, make sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to do more school after, like figure out what courses you need. I started doing that when I was thinking about teachers college, and making sure like I have to take so many instrument courses for this teacher's college, but not for this one. And like figuring out and making sure I was on track to be able to apply. So like figuring that out, or making sure I had all the courses for my minor or something like that. And that's like, you should go to your academic advisor every year. Like this is all throughout university, but specifically before you graduate, make sure you're on track.
That's
a big thing.
Yeah.
I remember in first year, I went to my academic advisor, like sometime in the fall term, and we looked at my courses, and she was like, "Oh, your winter term is all messed up. Let me fix that for you." So like, I would have probably had to take some summer courses if I didn't go to my academic advisor because I had it all wrong. But I'm on track now. So
That's good. That's good.
It's good to hear. So what about, so we said the first thing to do is to go to an academic advisor yearly, if possible, or more if needed. Maybe some other things come up. Make sure you're on track, and especially before you graduate, right? What is something else that we need to do before you graduate?
Another thing would definitely be to go to the career center. I didn't visit it that much until like my final year, but that's because I saw so many like emails from them because they were doing the career development certificate, which I also highly recommend. But I just booked an appointment with one of the career advisors, I think is what they're called. And pretty much like at that point I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was like, all I know is I don't want to do any more school. Like I'm done, no more for me. And so we kind of just like chatted about what I could do, what I want to do, like keywords to look for when job searching. So it really helped me. And then she was like, oh, go to LinkedIn and like search the Laurier alumni and what they do and their job titles. And so it was really interesting to just kind of like do a discovery session and figure out how to job search better.
For sure. Like,
Ooh.
talk it through with someone who knows it's their job to help you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every piece of advice was just like a golden nugget. And I was like, thank you so much for this session. Like it was so good.
With that being said, how do you job search on LinkedIn? Do you have any tips?
I don't know. Like I kind of had like anything off the table or nothing. What am I trying to say? Like anything goes. Like I'd move to BC. Why not? I didn't have to put in location or anything. Like maybe if you're looking for full-time or remote, or just kind of like think about what you want. Like if you want to stay in Ontario, if you want to go to the office and not be remote or stuff like that, and just figure out what would be important to you and then apply for only those jobs, which I just kind of didn't because I just like wanted a job. So I applied to everything, like everything under the sun. But I mean, like you'll find something.
That's great. Thank you. I think probably obviously finding something you like is probably the most important thing, and also being open to different things is probably a good thing as well.
Yeah, because jobs could turn into something else.
That's true.
So
I feel like finding a job is what is the most daunting thing about graduation that a lot of people worry about. But like going to the career center, knowing that there is something for you out there, I feel like that can give you a little sense of calmness, right? You found something.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
It took a while. I'm like, don't give up. It took a while. I applied to like so many jobs and I got a phone call and they're like, hey, I'm from blah, blah, blah. And I was like frantically searching through my email, like, when did I apply to this? Like, what was the job description? Like, yeah, I remember. Yeah. Okay. Like, sure. That was like 400 applications ago. Like, I don't remember that, but yeah.
That's awesome.
It took a while, but it was good.
That was our awkward pause. So in terms of, I'm gonna be cutting this out. In terms of kind of, I think a lot of students in upper years, like they start to kind of worry about, I guess, what they want to do and just applying for jobs and everything. Like when did that kind of happen for you, and like what was that process like?
I don't know. Like it was very much so like in my last year, like maybe the end of first term, where I was like, no, I don't want to do teachers college. I just want to like find a job. But before that, I was like researching teachers college, figuring out prices, finding out the courses I needed. And then I think it was like a placement I had where I was like, I don't know if I want to be a teacher anymore. But it's all just kind of like, if it changes, it changes. Like, you don't have to do what you originally planned. Like I think actually for my 3 years, I wanted to be a teacher. And I was like, that's the goal. That's what I'm going to do. And then in my 4th year, I was like, no, I don't really want to do that anymore. Also, I don't want to do more school. Like, maybe I'd go back in 5 years, 10 years. I don't know. But it was wild because in 4th year, in a lot of classes, teachers would be like, oh, what are your plans? And everyone would be like, I'm going to teachers college. I'm doing my master's. And I'm like, I don't want to do any more school. So that's kind of what I said. And everyone was like, okay. But I was like, I don't want to do it. Like, there's too many years of school consecutively. But now I found the job, and I applied to like a lot of different kinds of jobs. So I was looking at like administrative assistant stuff, and then also project coordination and like some project stuff in the music industry. And like right now I'm not in the music industry, but it was kind of like feeling all over to find what I wanted to do. And like reading job descriptions also helped because I was like, maybe I could do something like this. And then it gives you keywords that you can look for.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's really valid. Like, it's kind of scary when you kind of have this mindset of, you wanted to do something for a long time, right? Maybe like some people even came into university wanting to do this their whole life as a kid, right? But it's definitely okay to change your mindset and what you want to do, because I don't know, I feel like life is like fluid and things change and you change and your personality can change. So I guess for our listeners, don't be afraid to pursue what you want or change kind of your vision of where you want to be.
Yeah.
And don't panic if you don't have a plan either. It's okay if you don't know, because to be honest, we're still really young. And we've got like our whole lives. So it's okay if you don't know exactly what you want to do every single year of your schooling. That's totally fine too, because you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I had no plan. I was like, my plan is to graduate and then not do more school. Like, that was it. And then I kind of like figured it out, and now I have a job, which is good. But yeah, my plans have greatly changed because in high school, I wanted to be an engineer, which a lot of people are like, what? Because then, yeah.
What happened? Wait, we need to hear the story here.
I don't know what happened. I think so. I went to an IB school, International Baccalaureate, and for the sole purpose of like wanting to be an engineer because they're really good for sciences. And then I was like super involved in music. I was in like 7 bands and just in the choir and stage band and all these things. And I was like, Renata, like, even if when I go into engineering, I'm still going to have music. Like, I still want to be in bands and stuff. And then I kind of realized, I was like, why don't I just, like, if I want to keep so much music in my life, why don't I go into music? And so that's how it switched. Yeah.
That's incredible.
And my music teachers were so great. That's why I wanted to be a music teacher. But then that changed. So, yeah.
We see plans change, and it always
you can change your plans.
Wow. That was a whole journey. That's incredible.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also important to remember that, like, at the end of the day, when you graduate, like, you get your degree and like this piece of paper, but like it actually, like, I guess it kind of just signifies that you kind of were able to develop and learn different skills throughout your university career, just because regardless of what you're studying something, and you're developing your time management skills, your organizational skills, and whatever it may be, they can be applied to a lot of different jobs. I feel like, so even if you kind of are studying one thing, you can kind of apply it to many different jobs.
Definitely.
You learn more than just the course material for your major, your program, right? Like LOCUS definitely has taught me a lot. And it's like my program is not even super related to like what we're doing in LOCUS, but I feel like I've learned a lot from extracurriculars, from like other people I've met and all that. Yeah.
I know, it's kind of wild because I hate when people say like, oh, you're not using your degree. Like, technically, I'm not in the music field, so I'm not using my degree with heavy air quotes, but I am using my degree because I learned how to study and how to network and how to like do tasks pretty much. Like, you learn so many other skills, not just the course material, like you were saying, that it's incredible. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm still using
Exactly.
my degree.
Of course, yeah. Do you have any advice in terms of networking? I see like you kind of talked about how you've networked before and like you enjoyed having coffee chats with people. What are some tips that you have?
um I don't know, like try not to be afraid is probably a good tip. Like, because so many people are like, ooh, networking, like going and shaking hands and making stupid small talk. But like, honestly, just like don't be afraid. Ask the questions you want to hear answers to. And don't think like, oh, I have to ask this specific question. Ask a weird out of the box question because that's going to make the conversation interesting and figure out like where you want to go with the conversation. And then also like if you're talking about jobs in your future, like that might help you a lot too. It's kind of cool. I also like kind of hated networking. Like after Hawk Weekend, I remember they had like the networking event and I always hated being like, hi, I'm Renata, how are you today? But like actually kind of learning how to do that and have fun networking and not being like, oh my god, people, it's a tough skill, I'm gonna be honest, but like it's good to get used to talking to people and kind of understanding where they are and then figuring out how they got there. And like I used 10,000 coffees to talk to a couple people in the music field, and I was like, how did you get to what you're doing? And so they kind of gave me like it's all like text chat things which you can set up video chats, I think. But they kind of told me what they did in school and then how they got there and what they did on the side to kind of help. So it's pretty interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, I think like, I mean, learning how to network is a life skill because I feel like
Mhm.
you kind of do that a lot, like I guess as you grow up, and it's always nice to just get to know someone and like, although, small talk may not be like the best thing, it's kind of a skill to be able to learn how to small talk probably. Um, and it's just useful, right? I guess just being genuinely interested in what the other person's doing and being open to like listening to their advice is probably really important.
Mhm.
Even if they're in a field that I guess you're not exactly interested in, you could learn from it somehow and network to something that you are interested, right?
No, that's so true. Yeah, like even if they aren't in like the same field as you, they still worked hard and they might have like little tidbits of knowledge about like how they studied or something like that that could help you. So yeah.
Yeah. And relating back to our other point, if you decide to change your directions, maybe that person could be a great connection for you in terms of where you're going?
True.
Exactly.
Alrighty, what about, when you graduate, a lot of students kind of think, and worry about the budgeting stuff, student debt is a big thing. Do you have any advice surrounding that?
I would say the biggest piece of advice is like make a plan. Like sit down, open up an Excel spreadsheet, like figure out what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, like create a budget so that you know like how you're going to be able to pay it off and stuff like that. And then also just like an overall budget. Like I started doing that too. Um, for like my phone bill and groceries and a whole bunch of stuff like that, but figuring out, and it was also kind of like I need to find a job and like looking at pay per hour and stuff like that. Like figuring out my expenses and everything. But budgeting is also a difficult skill, which I think the Career Center has stuff for that. Uh, but it's super handy and it's very important.
Very, very important. When would you say you started doing this? I know there's not really a specific date, but like personally you, when did you start?
Oh my gosh, like after I graduated, I do it sooner than me. but like that's when I actually sat down. Like sure, I had ideas in my head, like, yeah, okay, I have to put towards this, towards this, towards this. But after I graduated, I actually like took it seriously. I opened up a savings account. I had never had one before. So I like talked to financial advisors and kind of they helped me as well. But yeah, do it sooner. But like it's good to have a plan to get going because budgeting is important.
I guess our last, like, I'm curious, like a last thing, like what is something like maybe fun or outside of the box, like in terms of 5 things, to do before you graduate, like specific to Laurier. So like something fun to do that like, oh, you go to Laurier, you need to do this. It could be something very basic, like go to Wilf's or something, but like
I was
that's
gonna
just
say
an example.
have
What are you gonna
spin
say?
dip. Well, because everybody always says that. And like when I tell my friends about Wilf's, they're like, what is Wilf's? And I'm like, it's a restaurant on campus and you didn't go if you didn't get spin dip. Which like, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but like it's not that special. Like it's just spinach dip. But also like it's Wilf's spinach dip. So you have to go and get it.
That's true.
Gonna lie, like I don't really know what Wilf's is because I'm on the Brantford campus. So.
Yeah,
Kristina,
it's like a campus. It's a really good restaurant.
Okay.
Campus restaurant.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we're not like I'm kind of with you, but like it's also just good. Like I feel like it's just like the cultural thing, or like just like you just have to, like you just kind of do it because like it's
You
like
have to go
spin dip.
once.
It's like, yeah, it's just kind of like, it's just there and it's good. But it's pretty hyped up, but it's good, so I won't complain.
It is
I'm still
good.
gonna eat it.
That's how I feel about Lonnie's on the Brantford campus.
So make sure you get spin dip on
Yeah.
the Waterloo campus and make sure on the Brantford campus you get Lonnie's before you graduate. That's what you came here for. That's all you need to know.
That's your one takeaway from this entire episode.
Forget everything else.
Alrighty, well, Renata, thank you so much for being our guest here today. Do you have any last like words of wisdom, like just advice in general, or even just like anything to summarize this episode, like literally last thing you want to say to our listeners, essentially?
I guess my words of wisdom would just be like, find something that you want to do. Like, even if that's switching your degree, that's also okay. It's okay to switch your degree if you have changed your mind. But also like after you get your degree, if you're like, I don't want to be a teacher anymore, like me, like it's okay to change your mind. Just do what you want to do.
It's important to enjoy what you're doing, right?
Oh yeah.
I love that. And thank you so much for your words of wisdom and just for being here. Essentially, make sure you give us a like, a follow to our podcast, subscribe, whatever, leave us a good rating. And until next time, stay golden, everyone. Bye.
Bye.